What's up, Wisconsin? Welcome back to the Inside Wisconsin Show here on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. That's John Anderson. I am Trevor Thomas. Jay, hey, congrats on the new digs. Look at that.
Yep. Out of the basement, got a brand new house in Columbia. We bought that. Can't wait to go there and move there. This just isn't it. This is strictly for television. I'm not in the basement. I don't really have a grand piano. I don't have any of this stuff. This is where I'm
okay. Got it.
I'm in my son's bedroom in a place in South Carolina. So, because we want to be forthright with everybody. And this is where I am. Temporary housing somewhere in November. I don't know, maybe by December. After I get through watching the Packer game, the 49ers and then the Dolphins, then maybe I'll have a real place to call home. And hopefully by then we have a team that's still in playoff contention.
Yeah.
And not a quarterback with 20 interceptions.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, man, when you and I talked about doing this show back in September of 2020, it was so that our fellow Wisconsinites could tune out the noise and just belly up and get lost in good stories and have some laughs.
Good.
We need that this week, and so we called in the heavy hammer mechanic, John Henson of Wipeout and Talk Soup. We talk about Wisconsin a couple, 2-3 times here, but this week is all about just gut-wrenching laughs, and we have come through for you, Wisconsin. This is going to be fantastic.
He's a good man and was a really good partner, and I became a really good friend. I was really fortunate that we ended up standing next to each other, and what I think is really crazy is that no one calls me Johnny. I had a grandfather that did, but that's it. Nobody does. No one calls him Johnny. He's just John, and yet for whatever it was, for 7 seasons, we just called each other Johnny the entire way. And I'll never forget the guy. The best I ever felt is when I felt like I had kind of written a joke that got into the program. And he smiled and he goes, "Ooh, that's good. I'll use that." And it was about people recognizing me. I'm like, dude, I'm on SportsCenter. I do this show 200 days a year, and I've done it for 15 years. And I gave him a line. He turns to me, just pats me on the shoulder, and he goes, "Yeah, cable." And so, God bless for ABC. We went over there, but when he just went, that's cute kid, cable. So anyway, he's a good guy, and he is just powerfully funny. And at the end of this program, you'll find out just how powerfully funny he is.
Seriously. You can tell we just taped it because I'm still crying. All right, John Henson, get ready to laugh on the Inside Wisconsin Show.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Amplify Health, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Legit Pizza, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
We need to start at the beginning of this, which is as the guy who was the longest serving talent on Wipeout, because I was there first. You were not.
Yeah, you were essentially the twin that was delivered 6 minutes earlier.
Yes. Explain to people how you got the job, because you were not standing next to me during the pilot. When I got the pilot, by the way, the guy says, "I don't know how funny you are." And then they fired the comedian. But anyway, explain to people how it is that you came and we are now forever connected as the Johns.
I received a phone call from my agent who explained essentially there's a crazy obstacle course show. They're looking for a color commentator. They want you to audition. And I knew that you guys had shot a pilot and they were making a hosting change. So I went in to audition for a guy named Mike the Chimp. Do you remember this guy?
No.
That was the casting director's name, Mike the Chimp.
Okay.
And I'm going to be, this is not an endearing story, but please understand I meant it exclusively in irony. I was not being this big a dick. But I walked into audition and there was a waiting room of young hopefuls, probably 6 or 7 guys waiting to go in. And John, you will understand this reference. I did the Larry Bird 3-point line. And I looked around the room and I go, who's coming in second?
Did you give him the crooked digit?
And there was stone cold silence in the room. To say that this joke was unsuccessful is a understatement. But when I walked in, I did one take and then I left. And on the way out, I just went, nailed it, and turned around and walked out. Never thought in a million years that I would get the job. I was just breaking balls. But I did end up getting the job and was very excited, having been a long-standing fan of yours, to come in. And we started 7 years together. And there were a few points during that first season where I was pretty sure I was going to get fired. Well, I mean, I'm not kidding. I really did think. I mean, they exercise a quick hook, man. This is Showtime at the Apollo. They'll send the Sandman out and and take you off stage. So I did think I might get fired at some point.
See, in that, I guess I was blissfully unaware, like that's what happened. And I've said to Matt Kunitz, who was the executive producer all the time, like, I don't know what you guys bitch about. I did one audition. I got a show. I did a pilot. It got picked up. It ran for 7 years. I don't know what you guys talk about. I never had to be a waiter. Like, these idle Hollywood bitches you guys have. And like, whatever about the struggle. It doesn't seem real. You've made it all up.
You are the janitor that bought Apple at 8 cents a share and ended up being a millionaire.
So, but you come to the show with this reputation and obviously a resume of both great comedy, but Talk Soup had been that you are the Talk Soup guy. Like I was the Sports Center guy and Jill was the Mercury girl all before we became this. And I always tell people, they're like, oh, Wipeout and Sports Center, like they're both 1 hour long and I talked on them. And other than that, they were completely different. Like there's nothing in common about those. What was it like then to do this show that we had our flurries where we do this, as opposed to this Talk Soup daily grind all the time?
Yeah, it was, they were antithetical because Talk Soup was, when I started Talk Soup in January of 1995, we had 3 writers doing 3 hours of programming a week. So, for people watching, understand that like when you watched, say, Joel McHale on Talk Soup, I think they had 9 writers. Something like that, 7 writers, and they were doing a half hour a week. So the workload, it was the I Love Lucy episode with the chocolates on the conveyor belt. Like it was the marathon with no finish line. You just ran and ran and ran, and you defecated on yourself, and somebody handed you some orange juice, and you kept running. So we had to do 52 weeks of programming a year. If we wanted a week off, we had to double tape shows for a week. And it was just, it was great for comedy writing because it just forced you to be prolific. But, I did over 1,100 episodes in 4.5 years. So cut to Wipeout. And it was, we're going to do as many episodes as humanly possible in 90 minutes. It was the exact opposite. It was like cram it all in, and then you get, 9.5 months off. The other strange aspect, the first season was on Talk Soup, they wanted me to write comedy. At the beginning of Wipeout, I was shocked to learn that was not what they really had in mind. I don't know how much of this John, but there was a lot of tension with the producers of like, these are things that were said to me, like, what are you doing? Why are you writing so many jokes? You are trying to upstage the course. The course is the star of the show. See dog, say dog. If John's running up the stairs, we want you to write, there's John running up the stairs. And I was going, why did you hire me? Like,
Right.
that is not what I do. Hence me thinking I was going to get fired.
Well, I can tell you right now, thank you from all of America for not listening to that jackwagon, because you two made the show. It had nothing to do with who was running up the stairs. So did they come up with Good Night and Big Balls then, or did you?
I believe that was written by Eric Immerman. Eric Immerman was a writer our first season. He is currently long-standing Jimmy Kimmel writer, very trusted kind of right-hand Jimmy Kimmel writer, brilliant guy, sort of as dark and acerbic a guy as you can humanly imagine. And Eric was all out of F's to give. I remember like the first season, he would do stuff that would just like make you clutch your pearls. Like the producers came in once and they pitched a joke, and I'm using air quotes for the joke. It was, I have a joke, and they came in and pitched it, and Eric just looked at the producer and goes, "Well, those sure are words." And you just thought, oh my God, this is a guy who's trying to get fired. In fairness, it took him 2.5 seasons.
Yeah, it eventually worked.
Yep. He managed to punch his card. He was released on his own recognizance, landed on his feet, and has had a much, much better career.
I don't know about you. Every once in a while, I text him and I'll say, I watched Kimmel tonight. I noticed you didn't get the Mr. T joke in yet.
Yeah, there were jokes that Eric was like a dog with a bone, and there was a Blubber Lang reference that Eric was trying to shoehorn in for every episode,
and never got in.
Yeah, it became it was like, that was his Sisyphus moment, was I'm just going to roll this boulder up the hill every episode and see what happens.
Oh, yeah, he was. And he did he make it 2.5? I thought he was out after about 1.5 years, but he was.
It might have been. I mean,
by the way,
I don't know. I mean,
but in this case, you were an enabler.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I honestly, part of me felt like it was the equivalent of shooting a hostage to send a message like, all right, you guys straighten up and act right. Because we were chomping at the bit. I mean, I felt I remember saying to Matt Kunitz, who may have a very different memory of all this. I mean,
sure.
I'm speaking of my own experience, but I just remember going, why would you hire me if you didn't want jokes? Like, children and dumb people will watch this show if you just lay in a music bed. Why not layer in some jokes that appeal to sort of a broader audience and kind of, expand the hook of the show? And it wasn't until I think the sort of reviews started coming out. I remember we had to literally fight that first season for one exchange between you and I per show on green screen. One, like, I say something, you say something, I say a punchline, and then they go to, like, that was like a controversial thing. And then the reviews started mentioning the comedy, and they started letting out the slack. And by 7th season, it was just a jailbreak, and I'm wearing costumes and doing accents, wearing a bald cap for no reason at all.
Yep.
It was insane.
But again, by the way, the bald cap, Trev, he just was like, I need a show where I wear a bald cap. Like, there was nothing that was just like, you know what would be great is if I could find a way to wear a bald cap. I always
call to Matt Kunitz at home. I was going to a costume party where I was going as Yul Brynner and in The King and I was sitting I had hired a friend who was like a movie, like a film makeup artist to do like a real genuine film quality bald cap. And it was so remarkably believable. It's so believable that at this party, numerous people were like, oh my God, did you shave your head? And I was like, yeah, I shaved my head for a costume party. But it was so remarkably good that I called Kunitz from the sitting in the chair, getting this bald cap. And I go, we have to do a bald cap show this season. And he goes, I don't understand. Why would you be wearing a bald cap? And I go, what difference does it make? I'll come up with a reason we're doing a bald cap show. And I think at this point he had kind of given up, trying to rein me in. And so we did. And some of my favorite jokes from that entire run of Wipeout 7 years were from that. Do you remember, like, we came back and at one point my shaved head had become grass?
I do not.
It was grass, and you go, well, it began with, I go, John, I've developed a revolutionary hair loss product. And you go, hair loss products are meant to grow hair, right? And I go, I did not know that. And then over the course of the show, my hair started growing in. And at one point, it was just like AstroTurf, like, and you go, what, John? You got something growing on your head? And I go, it's a head garden, John. I just remember that, like. I laughed so hard. Marshall Davis and I wrote this green screen stuff together, and I just remember laughing so hard at the phrase, it's a head garden. Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, that was when we were sort of off the yoke and onto the straw, as my Southern father would say.
So during all of that, I was required to wear a blue blazer that sometimes was navy, and then sometimes it was maybe 2 shades lighter than navy while he was going on. But I did always send everybody a picture of the new season khakis that I would wear every year.
I got to be honest with you. When I look at repeats, I go, why are all my clothes so ill-fitting? Like some of the jackets, like, am I David Byrne in the Talking Heads? Why am I wearing, I look like an 11-year-old wearing my dad's suit.
But as great as all the jokes were, not all of them got in. Tell people what the standards and practices people do for a living.
All right. So standards and practices, I'll put it in the sports world. They are what I like to refer to as a comedy goalie. So their job is to kick away anything remotely funny on the edge. So they're essentially the kryptonite of comedy writers, and they're constantly going, well, you probably shouldn't say that. That's too far. That's a little too much. That's too dark. It became a game of keep away. And I would say probably about season 4, we as writers began to sort of backdoor them. So what we would do is we had a couple of tactics. If you had a joke that was right on the edge, we would then write 5 more jokes that were so far over the edge that you sort of hoped that they would go, well, I mean, we killed these 5. Let's let this one go. Like it sort of tilted the scales of what they considered over the line. That worked for a little while. And then we sort of went nuclear, and it became a matter of like, don't put that in the script, and I will magically improvise it the day of taping. This is the God's honest truth. What most people don't know is that there were, I think, if I am remembering correctly, 9 executives on the show between Endemol, the executive producers, and ABC that had veto power over any joke. And they didn't, this wasn't like we performed it for them and they all got to see who laughed and what the balance of it was. They were either reading it by themselves on a screen, or they were listening to an editor read it on a temp track. So you're essentially writing a joke that has to be so good that an editor can deliver it and convince 9 executives. Because if just one of those executives writes ? Can we beat this? It's out, and there's no appeals process. So we would hold it out, and I would go, you know what? I'm gonna improvise that the day of, and if everybody laughs, the people watching the cut will go, "Oh, that's a good joke. Everybody laughed. I'll let it go." And there was still, I mean, John, I don't know. I've always thought this. My favorite joke on Wipeout that did not make it into a show ever was, so we had a phrase, the scorpion. If you wiped out so hard that your back bowed and your feet, the bottoms of your feet touched the back of your head, we called that a scorpion. And I want to say it was like season 6. It was towards the end. They were always very cagey about any reference or allusion to anyone being hurt or injured. So this poor woman, Scorpion, so brutally, like so remarkably bad. And, feet touch the back of the head and then flops back down. And she laid there motionless for a second and then popped up and started running. And in that moment where she was laying prone, not moving, I went, "Oh my God, do we need to get new jobs now?" And then she popped up and started running. I go, "Nope, we're okay." And they were like, no, like literally stop now. And I go, "I said no." And they were like, "We know what you're doing." That's how. Yeah.
There were some of them. I always enjoyed too when people would ask you if anybody was ever seriously hurt, and you'd be like, "Well, let's define seriously before we go into that." Yeah, the censors were not everybody's friend. And I always appreciated how hard that part of your job was, because if I said something funny accidentally, it was fine. But like to have to go sell a joke that you just didn't believe in has got to be, that was tough. And then when it bombed, they're like, "That guy's not funny at all." And you're like, you took all of that. And I was just sitting there going, "Hey, here's Frank Mead, who's a teacher that has 17 rabbits." So,
do you remember, this is probably when I thought I was going to get fired the most, was first season. They had a joke. I just remember the punchline was, "He's in denial. Get it, John? Because the Nile is a river in Egypt." And I refused to say it. And they were like, "I understand." I go, no, I'm not doing that. And they were like, "You just read one." And I said, "No, because if I do it once, you can use it. And the whole point is that I do not want you to be able to run your hand up my butt and use me like a puppet to make me say something that is that awful. I'm not doing it." And I thought, that might have been a bridge too far. Yeah.
And yet that then became our thing for 7 years, because how many times did you go, "See what I did there?" Like that happens when we text each other. "See what I did?" Like that is lived now for umpteen years when it came through. And the beauty of all this is we ran 7 seasons. We made a boatload of cash. And with that, you earned an all expense trip to Wisconsin. And I can't wait to chat about that.
Yeah, that was, well, it's why we play the game, John.
There you go. We take a break now. We come back. We will get into John's excellent adventure in America's Dairyland.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Amplify Health, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Legit Pizza, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
I know that you put on some LBs. I'm speaking for myself now during the holiday season. There's a lot of people here in Wisconsin that enjoy a good turkey trot. Look at this. I didn't realize I had my coffee cup from the Festival Foods turkey trot. And by the way, didn't get this for running, just happen to know the right people because I'm not a runner.
Well,
and I don't have a good Achilles.
Half the time you're not a walker.
Yeah,
without injuring yourself. So I apologize that I have my turkey trot stocking cap and the turkey actually beanie from Festival Foods. I have that. That is packed away amid God knows where on a truck somewhere between here and Columbia. So I apologize for that, but I do have that. And it's funny. We just did the New York Marathon, which is 42.2 kilometers. So think 8.5 turkey trots, basically. But we were talking about how people think of the marathon as 26.2 miles. People know how fast they want to go. Oh, how fast are they running per mile? Like 5:01. But the one thing they can get is if you give somebody a 5K time metrically, that's about the only thing, but people know it because they run Saturday morning 5Ks, whatever it is. Everybody runs a turkey trot. And so it's like the one metric distance people know. What'd you run for your 5K? Oh, I ran 18 minutes. I ran 22 hours. That they get. If you said, how far did you run for, like the cross country championships in college are like 6K and 8K. And people are like, how far are those people running? I have no idea. 5K, at least they know. So, but yeah, I don't recommend that for you because you running to first base, disaster. Getting up and thinking about running, disaster. You just need to, it was, who's the great Oklahoma comedian? Will Rogers. We can't all be the gold medalists. Some people have to sit on the sidewalk and clap as the parade goes by. Okay. I need you to be that guy. Okay.
That'll
you go
me.
When the turkey trot people go by, just have your festival foods cup. You do that. That's your job.
I'll cheer them along. Festival Foods, turkeytrot.com. Over 201,000 participants since 2007. 16 years of excellence and over $4.39 million raised for charity. Register today, whether you're going to clap or walk or dog jog. It's all there. Festival Foods, turkeytrot.com. Time for another top 5 list here on the Inside Wisconsin show, presented by UW Platteville. Their renowned engineering and STEM programs offer a cutting-edge environment with over 60 majors to choose from. Plus, with exciting clubs and organizations, they're always fun on campus to be had. Discover why UW Platteville is a smart investment. Apply now. The University of Wisconsin-Platteville. This is relative top 5 for them. In your college days, you maybe weren't as sophisticated in the old cocktail category, but here in Wisconsin, there's a chance maybe you had your first cocktail in college. And so today's top 5 list, the top 5 cocktails that you would order here in Wisconsin. And just like Jordan Love couldn't be on the top 5 most important Packers for the season, the old-fashioned is out.
Got it. The only caveat I would give to that is some of us, when the drinking age was 18, may have had that cocktail way earlier than college. But go ahead. Let's hear what you got. You want to start? Right. Okay. I'm going to hear what you got because I may, you never know. Sometimes you mess these up and you need help.
Shocker.
Sometimes you need me to fix it for you.
Yeah. Something tells me you're going to fix these. There are a couple, what do you call them? Honorable mentions.
Sure.
I put the Russians, the Long Islands, and the Manhattans. Those are honorable mentions for me because all 3 of them make me turn into somebody I am not.
Okay.
So we have learned that we can't order those. Number 5, though, we can order. And just the other night, I had a sip of one at dinner, a dirty martini. How dirty do you like your martinis, John?
I don't drink martinis. I just watch James Bond movies. That's where I get my fill of martinis. Shaken, not stirred.
Shaken, not stirred. Number 4, a skinny pirate. Shout out to my guy Shave. A skinny pirate is a captain in diet. You ever set sail with the old captain?
I had some bad experience with the brown liquor one time, and I think I've documented that on this program. So the brown water and the small glasses are not for me.
He orders them in these tall pint glasses. Skinny pirate. Yeah, I have set sail. One too many rough seas in my day. I'm done with that fella as well. Number 3, a John Daly. I love a good John Daly on the golf course.
So that's the old that's the Arnold Palmer, but spiked.
Yes, that's right. Spiked Arnold Palmer. Yep. Some of those come in cans now. Super good. Number 2, blended or on the rocks, your call. A good margarita on a hot summer day.
Nice, good, sure. Take that. I'll drink that anytime.
And I believe number 1 is up your alley only. I think you just run the bottle past it or around the rim or something, but I love a good gin and tonic with a lime. And I believe that there's a cocktail on your list, most likely, that doesn't need a lime or tonic. So I love gin and tonic. The more pine needles, the better for me.
Yeah. What's that? That's the old juniper berry is what they take care of that with the old gin. Did you know that? Gin is made from a juniper berry. So now you know that. So I will do mine. This is the first admirable list you've ever had.
Wow.
Because I could do all those. Like they're in the wrong order. And, that's fine. It's like at some point, if I get in the right mood, just empty the bar mat in a glass over ice. I'll drink that. Ooh. It's fine. Ooh. So I'm not in a time where we feel like maybe there's some divisiveness. I'm just going to tell you that good for you. And if you brought one of those back, I wouldn't throw any of them out for you. So
thank you very much.
I don't know that I have honorable mentions. I would tell you this: I'm not a Bloody Mary guy, which people,
damn it,
right? See, did you forget the Bloody Mary?
Totally. Yeah, that should have been top 2. Damn
okay,
it.
where
That's
do you
my
put
bad.
a good Bloody Mary?
Oh, it depends. Did I go out the night before or not?
No, just you're going to the Packer game in the morning. Hey, here we are. It's an 11. We got a noon start. You're out there tailgating at 9.
I'll probably have one, but just one.
Okay. Yeah, but still, so that'd be on your list. So you got to. So now you have now you're like me. Now you've got a list of 6.
Messed up.
That happens. And I have come to like Aperol. I'll drink anything with Aperol in it, which isn't bad. So this number 5. This goes against kind of the brown water, but this is the first cocktail I can remember having because you were 17-year-olds or whenever you first snuck into a bar and you're like, I don't even know what to order. So I'll just have a 7 and 7, right?
7 and 7.
Easy enough. Like it's literally like you go from a Shirley Temple to the 7 and 7. Like that's the first one you have with the liquor in it. And, so then that's harmless when they do that. So that's high school. So then if you go to college, now you graduate.
That's high school.
Yep. That's high school. Now you graduate to, and I like a good trash can punch. That's where you just put everything in a trash can, and then you just
we call that a WAP.
Whatever.
Wapatui.
Trash can punch.
Okay.
But here's my funny story from college about trash can punch. My buddy Jerry Jacobs one time, he was serving them out of a wiffle ball bat. He took one of those thin yellow wiffle ball bats, right, and you cut the end off, and he put it in there, and then you push the hole down, so then it would hold it, and then he just. So I prefer a trash can punch at number 4. And if you can serve it out of a wiffle ball bat because you're creative engineering wise, that'd be really great. There you go. 3, I'm with you. I'm going to have a nice margarita anytime, day or night.
Yeah.
I don't need all kinds of different crazy. Don't need pomegranate. Don't need peach. I just want that. I don't take salt just because I'm not a deer. I don't need a salt lick.
3 is good. 4 is too many. 5 is really bad. Just saying.
Yeah, you got to be careful. That'll sneak up on you.
Yeah.
So that's 3. Number 2, this is a true story. I was at an event for Hannah Storm, a charity thing for her. And she and her husband, Dan Hicks, who does all the NBC golf stuff, they're like, hey, Dan's like, let's go play at Wingfoot, the great golf course, Wingfoot. He goes, he's a member there. He goes, but I want to introduce you some other guys. And he introduces me to the priest at their parish, who is also a member at Wingfoot. And his name is Father Tom Collins. So number 2 is a Tom Collins. We like to call that a family drink in mine because Walter Collins, my mom Collins. So everybody loved a good family drink. I like it. I like the Tom Collins. I went with gin, vodka's fine, but that's it. And then I think the one you were thinking of, number 1, which is because my brother drank it and I drank it, and because he did it, I did it. I love, and you want to talk about like 10 is not enough and 1 is too many.
Yeah.
Is a vodka gimlet.
Yeah.
So if you just give me some ice, good ice, because you got to have really good ice for that, in a nice bottle. And then in terms of, as much roses as I want, I would like you to open the roses. And no, I just want you to set it next to it. Just take the top off and set it next to it, and then throw a lime in it and give it to me like that. So I kind of like it. The old, can you blow dust off that thing? That's how dry I want it. I don't know how dirty you like your martinis, but I like the gimlet. I like it dry. And again, I think any of these if we just went and had an open bar for people, they'd really enjoy the Inside Wisconsin, cocktail hour.
So would I.
We should do that sometime. Let's set up all your 5 and my 5. It's like day drinking with Seth Meyers. Make a couple of them, have them in front, and we'll just drink around, and we'll go through, and we'll just see what the show ends up with by the time we're 10 drinks in. Set
up this camera and click play. Got it.
Okay. Note to self: next time we can't get a guest, get a liquor store.
Perfect.
Writing that down. All right, let's go back to Henson.
We're back, the Inside Wisconsin show. Trevor, John, and Johnny. You decide which one's who. 9 words. What was that?
I said, I'll be Trevor.
Yeah, good. Well, put the bald cap back on. I said to my wife this morning before we started taping this, I know my role in this episode, and it is just to be a fan. And that is exactly how I think this is going to go. So let me ask you a question, and then you two are going to just sit and banter, and I'm going to sit back here and laugh and cry and wipe my face. Amazing. John mentioned it. You got to come to Wisconsin. So I think it was 2011. We did Wipeout night at the Green Bay Bullfrogs, and we had you two out. And I think I promised you guys that you were going to sign autographs until the 5th inning. And I think it was like the top of the 8th. The place was jam-packed. Would Wipeout be as successful today in today's culture as it was back then, or couldn't you get away with it?
Well, they're trying, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to kind of look at it as imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and I think Wipeout was in many ways the beginning of sort of a mini genre of programming. People make their left turn on it, but obviously, I think American Ninja Warrior. Is that what it is?
Yeah, something like that.
And the Steph Curry mini golf show. Yeah. They also had a show where it was like people trying to pass through cutouts on the wall. I mean, there was, people tried to recreate that. Well, let's be honest. Wipeout tried to recreate that on TBS. And that's, I think that's a testament to if you can, and you're lucky enough to catch sort of lightning in a bottle, people go, wow, that's a winning formula. Let's see if we can make our own version of that.
So we go to the game. As I recall, the trip in was not ideal. I don't know where you got stranded or whatever, right? It took forever to get here from LA.
I don't, I blocked most of this out.
I understand. Sure.
It's something that I'm still working on with my talking doctor. But I remember the first time I went to Wisconsin. I want to say I went in like February, and a plane ticket was like $30. Literally, like no one wanted to go to Wisconsin in February. And this was, I think, comparatively, I didn't have to put Vaseline on my face. So I look at this as the good trip.
I don't recall. You threw out the first pitch. What did you throw? Do you have a four-seamer? I don't know. Do you have a cutter? I know you have great late movement, but I don't remember what you threw.
Look, I think we all know that my Tommy John surgery took a lot off.
Sure.
In terms of speed and control. I mean, I went from, sort of a 7-8 strong innings guy to like, I can face maybe at best 6 batters if I had 5 days off. And then I'm putting on the jacket and I'm rooting for my team. So I can't quite remember whether I threw it into the stands and hit a fan, whether the catcher can only count in odd numbers now because of a head injury from the triple-digit speed that I was bringing. It's a lot of it is, honestly, pending litigation. I'm not really able to discuss.
Understood. Yeah, I know how that is. A lot of times, under the advice of counsel, you should probably say less. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Trevor always says he still would like to go to dinner again out at Brett Favre's Steakhouse, even though the place is closed, right, Trev? I don't know.
Yeah, it's gone. It's a hotel now.
Yeah,
that was one of the funnier nights of my life. I remember sitting in that restaurant after that game, and there was a Michael Jackson Neverland joke in there that I don't remember, and frankly don't know if we can repeat. But it was one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life.
I'm not surprised that the business was shut down after our visit. That is surprising to me is that anything is there now. I would have thought this would have been a burn it down, salt the earth, never let anything grow here. Sort of a, like a, chicken wire around it kind of thing, Area 51. But, anything you guys want to put up there, I would just say you're probably going to be dealing with some evil spirits.
We should call you because I know you got a chicken coop guy. If that's what we needed.
I can make a phone call, but I need the money up front.
So when you go through, I want to merge the two here with some Wisconsin and your comedic sensibilities. We had Pete Lee on, And Pete was talking about how when he went to New York, he thought he had to be edgy and be this New York guy, and he just bombed terribly. And he went back to kind of this, here's who I am kind of guy. I want to know your thoughts on just the authenticity that you need as a comedian to actually make things work.
I mean, you know, you've sort of got, you know, a bit of a spectrum within whatever you do, right? So there's, you know, you can clean it up in shades and then you can let it out in shades. But there's a certain aperture of your comedic voice. The longer I've been doing this, the less I am inclined to censor or filter anything that comes into my head. I'm pretty much gripping it and ripping it. So, yeah, I don't pull punches for geography, maybe age, but you know, to a degree. I think it's sort of starts to go, well,
right.
that's
but
you, the parent, for bringing.
Right, but isn't there I mean, and I guess it comes a time, but finding like the voice of who you are. This is who I am. This is comfortable. This is how I can go out, and now I can let it rip because I'm doing exactly who I am. I'm not trying to do Johnny Carson or David Letterman or Pete Lee or anybody else.
Reps, man. I mean, that's just time in the box, right? Like you just got to Malcolm Gladwell that shit. That's just your 10,000 hours thing. And that's what stand-up was for me. I mean, I dropped out of college sophomore year to do stand-up and just did as much as I could possibly do. You know, I did maybe 7 years and change as a comic in New York City before I started Talk Soup. And you know, the last few years of that, you know, you might be doing 5-6 sets on a Friday or Saturday night. So it was just, you know, the repetition. That's like kind of what Wipeout was, or excuse me, Talk Soup was for me in terms of television. It was like you have to generate so much stuff that you begin to really learn the form and function of jokes and joke structures and what works for your voice and where your kind of wheelhouse is. And then, you know, you get to the point where it's sort of second nature, you know, and that's when you get to the grip it and rip it place. I mean, it's the difference of, I don't know if anybody has ever talked to someone who's been in, say, a martial arts course for 6 weeks. And they're like, I'm learning martial arts, grab my wrist. You know, it's like, I can do it under the right circumstances because I've learned that, you know, and then, right. You know, you do it for long enough that it becomes instinct, it becomes second nature. And so, I mean, look, dude, this has been my only hustle in my life. We're talking about 37 years that I've been making my living saying mouth words, you know, with the sole intention of striking a tone that would get you fired from any traditional job by lunch. So, you know, I've really only got one skill, and I'm gonna ride it out.
So I grew up watching you on Talk Soup, not to make you sound older, me sound young, but 95, I was in 7th grade. And then you got to be the Wipeout guy. Did you ever graduate from being, hey, that's the guy from Talk Soup? I think of John going, hey, that's the Sports Center guy. And now he's on Wipeout. Were you the Talk Soup guy that just happened to fall on Wipeout?
It is really strange because I've been fortunate enough to be part of 3 different franchises that have very loyal following. So Talk Soup, you know, was sort of YouTube before YouTube. It was where people went to see viral videos when YouTube didn't exist. And there's a certain age and demographic of viewer who that show has a very special place for. And then Wipeout was this kind of family friendly, we used to call it the dirtiest family show on television. And this co-viewing of parents watching with their kids. And so there was a lot of new people discovering, I think, both of us. And then now for 7-8 years now, I've been on Food Network, which is a completely different pathology, and people will put Food Network on and just leave that on like wallpaper. And so it's got a very kind of, there are people who only know me as the Food Network guy. There are people who only know me as the Wipeout guy. There are people who only know me as the Talk Soup guy. And then, as my social media bio says, I also hosted a bunch of shit no one watched.
Yeah, but you know what? You gave a lot of that stuff away to friends of mine, the coffee mugs and some T-shirts and things. So it still was productive in my book.
Look, shows come and go. Merch lasts forever.
Stays. People are still drinking coffee out of the John Henson project or whatever that was.
Yes, that's right. My short-lived Spike TV show. Dude, I got a ton of them I got tote bags. These tote bags are the greatest thing that ever happened to me. They're like made out of Kevlar. You can't destroy them, and they're incredible. A little zipper compartment on the end. I love it.
So I have 2 stories I would like you to tell. This is no longer us getting. I need 2 stories that have to come out of this show for viewers. First off, you mentioned you dropped out of college, but there was an exit interview, which is different than graduation.
Oh my God, I forgot about this. Yeah.
So you were dropping out, but you felt the need to go have an exit interview.
I was requested. So
okay.
when I said, you had to, I don't know, I'm assuming check a box, fill in a bubble, announce to the school that you were not returning, and you had to go to an exit interview. And I was at this point.
You were BC or BU?
BU, and I was. Let's just say emotionally, I was fully divested from college at this point. I had uncoupled. I had consciously uncoupled my higher education. And so I went to this interview in perhaps a state of mind that was a bit relaxed and a bit more honest than this gentleman was prepared for. And I just remember thinking, I am going to make very quick work of this interview. And the guy said, well, why do you want to leave BU? And I remember, God, I have forgotten about this, John. I go, well, I've been here for 2 years, and that cost probably $45,000, and I just don't see that I've received $45,000 worth of information. And the guy just went, all right, thank you very much for coming in. That was it. I mean, it was
cost effective. I am not getting, what I paid for this thing. Yeah. Today would be like, you'd have spent 90 grand and then you'd have that conversation.
It was like I had handcuffed him. It was like firing a fastball at somebody's navel. And they were like, I didn't do a left hand, right hand. What do I do? He was not ready for it.
And then the other one that I apologize. I think this is the funniest thing, and I don't know if it is for you. So if it's painful in the recounting, I apologize that I'm finding great humor in it. But when your dad called with some comedy advice,
oh God,
is another one of my favorites that I think people, and I know Trevor would enjoy.
Yeah. So I dropped for context. I dropped out of Boston University after my sophomore year to do stand-up. Now, when I say I was there for 2 years, I want to be very clear. I went to college the way Charlie Sheen went to rehab. We were both physically there, but I don't know that either one of us learned anything. So I dropped out of BU to do stand-up when my father was on the Board of Regents for Public Education in Massachusetts. It was not a popular decision. And it was a little bit like telling my Southern dad that I was joining the circus and I was going to guess weights for a living. Like, he had no idea what to make of it. And one day he called me on the phone, and he's from Arkansas. He's got a very particular accent. And he goes, John, I was watching the Leno program, and they had on this Jerry Seinfeld and what he did, and what I think you ought to do is tell these jokes about things that everyone has in common. See, because that way, when you say your punchline, everyone laughs. And I remember like blinking at the receiver a few times, and I go, Dad, that's like me calling you and saying, I was reading this Fortune 500 magazine, and they had an article about this Sam Walton and what he did. And what I think you ought to do is get yourself one of these stores where everyone shops. See? And then put one of those stores in every single city. And there was a long pause, and he goes, just trying to help. God love that man. I mean, I am his cross to bear. He is 91 right now. And I went to see him in February, and he goes, John, there are so many things you could do. And I go, Dad,
Still working.
I am a 57-year-old non-college educated beginner with no work experience. What the am I going to do other than flip burgers or get a real estate license? I am 30 years into television. I think I'm playing this hand out. And he goes, I'm just
Trying to help.
help.
By the way, think about this: 2 years of school, in that you could be a Nick.
Listen, I might still be a Nick. We don't know. We got to check the roster. If you went way far down the list of like the Mikal Bridges trade or something, there might be a player to be named later that I can fill that spot.
Before we break, because this is at some point, there's a lot of, we talk about sports a lot, and we haven't really done that with you. That is your fandom, right? I have no idea if you have a baseball team. I have no idea if you have a football. But I do know.
I used to when I was Yankees. When I was in my 20s, it was the Giants, and then I got married and had kids, and I went, you know what? I'm picking basketball. It's a long season. I'm funneling it all into one sport.
And then you pick the wrong sport. I mean, this has to just be devastating. We always think of big market teams. Well, this is hard fandom where you are.
It is. You got to remember, like, I moved to LA in 95. So to hold fast to my Knicks fandom in the face of an absolutely merciless Talk Soup crew during the LA three-peat of Kobe and Shaq, it was sort of like my Cool Hand Luke experience. It was like I was just taking it on the chin every single day. There were the Isaiah years, and oh my God. It was let's just say I've earned it, man. I have earned it. I wrote an open letter. Do you remember when I wrote that open letter to that New York sports writer and had a little moment with him?
Frank.
Frank
Iasola?
Yeah. He had me on his podcast to have it out. Like we had a thing, man.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember I wrote that open letter and I saw that Ben Stiller liked the post, and I was like, I'll die a happy man now.
There you go. Few people have had to go through David Fizdale and Isaiah Thomas in their lifetime. You're a great man for some of the things you have endured.
Look, had the players just bought in to Fizdale's offense, had the Knicks really been willing to run the triangle back in the Frank Ntilikina years, there's so many unanswered questions.
Yeah, so close.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sweating. We got to take a break. The lightning round is next. Inside Wisconsin, I'm crying.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Amplify Health, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Legit Pizza, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
I was going to do a top 5 list today of top 5 worst games, Ice Bowl, NFC Championship. Can I tell you that drinking a Miller Lite in the pouring rain at Lambeau Field, good, great time. Miller Lite, sure. Awesome. Pouring rain absolutely sucked. Can you remember a game where Miller Lite saved your day at Lambeau Field or even watching? Jeez.
Here's the thing. I can't because since I was of legal drinking age and coming back, the Packers were pretty good. So it was usually more of an enhancing the experience because oddly enough, I couldn't get it at 8, 9, or 11 or 12 when I really needed it. Honestly, I feel bad for our sponsor. Like, where were you, Miller Lite, when I needed you? Oh, that's right. There were actually laws in place from preventing it. So luckily, no, I had to suffer through all of that just on, the Kool-Aid man. Because we didn't have we didn't have the pouches like that. We just had to make Kool-Aid out of the old packet when we did that. So I do not. So no, I have been fortunate enough that most of the time Miller Lite has always been more of a celebratory and an add-on that only enhanced that. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I'm sorry that everybody had to go through that. I have not lost faith, but I do have a lot of questions and suggestions for those in charge. So, to which they might go, "You sound like you've had too many Miller Lights." But anyway, it's no.
I grabbed 2 16-ounces out of my beer fridge, stuck them in one side of the rain suit and the other, went to the bar, had a Miller Lite there, walked back from there, leg a little swollen at the end of the day, hit a tailgate, had a Miller Lite there, had one tall boy while in the stadium. And by all means, Miller Lite tastes like beer until you hold it out in the pouring rain for 4 straight quarters. So then I just
protect your beer,
as did the Packers punt.
Protect your beer.
Yeah, protect your beer is right. Make your game day taste like Miller time. Taste great and less filling. Let it be both. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/InsideWisconsin, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly.
Beer.
Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces, fewer calories and carbs than premium light beer. Thank God for the tall boy in Lambeau. And will the Packers please figure it out? I know you have.
They'll get it.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out.
All right, back to wrap it up with the funniest guy I've ever met. That's John Henson, Trevor, and John Anderson. 2 for me, and then the ever-famous lightning round. John has talked about on the show that there was a Wisconsin influence behind the scenes at Wipeout. There was some kids from Oshkosh or something. Henson, talk about that. What was that like? Because I know you're not super duper familiar with Wisconsin.
It essentially translated to a handful of jokes every week that I didn't get. Local references, inside baseball, shorthand, it was essentially the male equivalent of when women joke around about going to get a pedicure and the Asian women talking to each other in a language they don't understand. And you're like, was that at my expense? It was that kind of thing.
Weirdly,
we did. Like Kevin was there, Ian was there, Corbin was there. All these guys had come over from Fear Factor. Yeah, all these UW Oshkosh grads. So yeah, it was.
By the way, where is Corbin in this great big world? What is he doing now? Didn't he go into some very weird?
I don't know. He was always inventing the next that would have been great with Ronco. I just felt like it would have been like
he legitimately was
kind of guy.
Patents, right?
Yeah, he was doing that. So I don't know. And then Kevin's running a golf course in Door County.
Competition. He was like a diehard grilled cheese competition guy. Took that very seriously.
Have you been back to Wisconsin since you did the Bullfrogs, and did you ever tour here when you were doing stand up in the different comedy spots?
I I have not been back, sort of in the sense of like when you're in a casino and you're getting ready to leave, you want to walk off on a winning hand. You know what I mean? You want to leave a winner. And I'm sort of that guy. Like if I go to a driving range and I have that like Titanic, you know, I crush a ball 325 yards. I think not touching the club after this. That was what I wanted out of this experience. I don't care if I have half a bucket left, start the car, we're leaving. So I have not gone back to Wisconsin because I had done all that I had hoped to achieve there.
Well, the good thing about that answer is you get to hit more balls in the bucket. It was very nice, but I don't know that that was 300 straight down the middle, and so you're going to have to hit some more. So
here we go.
We'll go through some of these are quicker. Trev, you'll find out I've abbreviated this a little bit.
Okay.
First off, give me. Do you have an all-time favorite Nick?
Whew. You know, if we're going Beastie Boys, I would have to say Hawthorne Wingo. I would. I got to go with the big fella. I got to go with Patrick Ewing because that was the anchor of my Knicks fandom.
Understood. You work with the Food Network, but you're also a bit of a foodie. If we come over, what are you making for an entree? Give me a specialty.
I would probably do a dried porcini encrusted filet mignon, where you get the dried porcini, you grind it up, and then you press the filet in it. Filet is a real simple. Once you realize you can make a steak as good or better than you can buy in a restaurant for 3 times the cost, that's like a life hack where you go, I'm never ordering a $70 steak again. So, a porcini encrusted filet with a little herbed butter, little scallion, little garlic, herbed butter, and right down the heart of the plate, man. Mashed potatoes, some roasted broccolini, and homemade muffins, man. We're going meat and potatoes for you Midwestern fellas.
I was going to say what I heard there was steak.
Yeah.
Better coach, Pat Riley or Jeff Hornacek?
Pat Riley.
Yeah, I think just by a little bit. In 6.5 years with the Milwaukee Bucks, what was John Henson's scoring average?
I'm going to go with I'll go with sub 9.
7.8, correct.
I was going to say it was either 7 or 9 were the numbers that jumped out in my head. But I want to say, like, doesn't he have like leads the franchise in rebounds or something weird? Doesn't he have some weird record there?
It would not be rebounds. I believe that Kareem has that number locked down, but it's good to think that you may be John Henson.
I didn't think it through. Again, I think we've established I don't test well, John. 5 years in high school, 2 years at college. But no, he has some. Well, look, let's just say I will be back when they retire his jersey.
Okay, that'd be fantastic. And now those are over. So Trev has to edit this show on deadline. Okay. And it's pretty easy, right? Turn on and let John talk, and it's going to be really fun. But I feel like we need a challenge for him. So I would like you to tell me the absolute filthiest joke you know, straight on, and we'll let him get to the beat button. What do you got for me? I hope this is just
for the purposes of time, I'm not going to do the aristocrats because that honestly, I assume Trevor has loved ones that want to see him sometime in the next 6 weeks. So I will give you, I asked a beautiful woman once what her favorite jokes were. And she told me 2 jokes that I had never heard before that coming out of the mouth of a beautiful woman absolutely floored me. One was, And I mean, you gotta. I know and unfortunately, I am the vehicle for this joke, but imagine that coming out of the mouth of a beautiful woman. The other one was. Well, and then look, my own personal favorite. I got, there's the this. You're not gonna be able to use this, but
I'm pretty sure I can't use the first two either.
What's I'm sorry, man. It's just brilliant. It is the funniest joke. The other one that always jumps to mind for me is
Here we go. Good. We're good. Full up. No chance I can edit that. That's
We
great.
could probably put some of those in together. I think Trev will figure out something there. That's perfect, John. Thanks. That's what we wanted. A little of that,
Wow.
That's great. Listen, dude, thanks so much for making time. I know you're busy. I know you got Jackson, Josie, and that two kids that's at that age. That's tough to go, man. And
I'm
it's
gonna,
great to visit.
Personal point of pride. I'm going to share with you my son's stat line from Sunday. 13 years old. He's only about 5'3.5". Has not hit his growth spurt yet. So everybody that he's playing with is a full head taller than him. He was 3 of 3 from 2-point range. Only took 1 3-pointer, rimmed out. He shot 60% from 6 of 10 from the free throw line, 4 rebounds. The assist stat, I'm going to qualify. He had 2 assists. He had 5 more dimes that were for blown layups. I literally started keeping a separate stat for that. 5 steals, 4 blocks at 5'3.5". 11 deflections, 2 turnovers, and 1 foul. A lot of it didn't show up in the stat line, but I tell you, man, he's a glue guy, John. He's a pass-first point guard. He plays the angles. I love his game.
He sounds like Wembanyama, only just 2 feet shorter.
Listen, did I tell you that I took him to San Antonio for his 13th birthday? Because at 13, you're too old for toys, but you're too young for hookers and blow. So what are you going to do for the kid, right? And I decided to give him an experience. And I took him to San Antonio. We did the, sightseeing, went to the Alamo, and then we went to go see the Knicks play the San Antonio Spurs. And that was the game that Brunson scored 61, I believe. Yeah. Second in franchise history. I literally could not miss in the third quarter. It was remarkable. But watching Wembanyama in person and seeing him tower over NBA players the way NBA players tower over civilians, and watching guys, he'd be on, guy would do an up and under. Wembanyama would be stuck on one side of the rim, and the guy makes it to the other to put it up. And yet these go gadget, you were never out of range for a block. And we lost in double overtime. And there was a little part of me that looked skyward and went, "Are you kidding me? I brought my kid 2,000 miles to watch him get his heart ripped out." He was almost on the verge of tears when we lost. And I had to do that, be the dad, kind of put a blue sky on it and go, "Hey man, we got to see history here, Brunson going on." And I thought, I'm a Hall of Fame dad if they pull out that second overtime victory. Instead, it is now something for him and Hibbs talking doctor to work through.
Instead, you're a Knicks dad, and you have foisted that upon the child. So, yeah. we'll see how that works.
I
That's
think he was about 7 years old when he looked at me. We were watching a game. He goes, "Dad, how come the Knicks don't like ever win?"
yeah.
Really got totally organic. Yeah. A couple of great moments in that. The J.R. Smith, J.R. Smith is a bad boy because he was smoking that endo. And also when the first time he saw a game with Joakim Noah, he went, "Hey, Dad, who's the guy in the ponytail?"
And just to think, he's got a lifetime of that to come. As long as Dolan is in charge, that's his life.
I passed that on like like type 1 diabetes. That's just in the bloodline, and it's going to be his cross to bear.
You're a good man, John Henson. Thanks so much, buddy. I appreciate it.
Guys, thank you. I hope it doesn't cost you the tens of viewers that you have.
Nope, I think so. But for you, I'm willing to risk single digits. That's how much I think about you, think of you, and admire you.
Trevor, it's great to see you. Great to chat with you. And I will. You threatened me with a good time. I'll come back. I would imagine Wisconsin is a very different place sober. So let's just see it through clear eyes, because I have only hazy memories of my first trip.
Not recommended. But if you want to go to a Packer game, I know a guy with tickets.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Johnny, thanks, great bud. To see you as always.
Yep. See you, Johnny.
See ya.
We want you to do a whole lot more than just save money. We want your money to grow, just like your dreams. We want you to achieve financial well-being and the feelings that go along with that. Capital Credit Union, doing the right thing.
And if you want the entire joke, subscribe to our Patreon channel, because there's zero chance I can get away with playing that. But
you don't think so?
Nope. I know so. It's not
what
that
are
I don't
the chances?
think so.
But what are the chances you tell those jokes to someone else?
Highly. There's a very high chance.
Yeah, like 100%. You'll go repeat them now.
Yeah, pretty much. In safe territory only.
But then you're going to go be the funny guy. Just make sure you proper attribution.
We needed the funny guy. That was great timing, man. Thanks for knocking on John Henson's door. That's a long time coming. We talked about doing a Wipeout type episode since the very beginning. So it was great to see you,
we should point out real quick, Ian Bush, who is also from Wisconsin, went to Marquette and was one of the comedy writers on that show, is hugely funny. We wanted to have them together, just never has quite made it. We should get Ian in, because there's nobody that knows more about the Buck. Man has a John Lure Bucks jersey, right? That tells you about him.
Is this the guy that you thought that you created Fear the Deer, but it was him is that the one?
Yeah, that's Ian.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think what we've settled on, or at least I hope, is that he was the guy that said Fear the Deer, and he was Leroy Butler, and I was Robert Brooks.
Yeah, got it.
And we'll see. But yeah, so that was our guy. But hopefully we'll have him on. So, and he was there for this John Wisconsin.
All right, here we go.
So we were on set. Okay, we always would fly. I'd fly in. I'd get off SportsCenter. I'd fly in the morning. I'd get there by 11, and by 1 o'clock we were starting. And now we'd shoot, deep into the evening. And it is the day of the NBA draft. It is 2012, and we were on set. And they call break. They call, we're gonna change a costume, whatever. So we're standing there in this break, and here comes Ian, and he is looking and he is laughing. And we're like, dude, what's so funny? He goes, the Bucks, with the 14th pick of the NBA draft, have just selected North Carolina's John Henson. So when the Bucks drafted John Henson, I was in LA on a green screen standing right next to John Henson. And so then we had to have a break to laugh, and nobody else there. They always used to we don't follow that sports ball. So they're like, we need to get going. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't know what's so funny here about what's going on. I'm like, dude, you get it? They literally just drafted a 6'9", 19-year-old basketball player whose name is John Henson. And that's our Ian and I see. And here's John Henson. They never got it. I find it to be one of the funnier moments that's ever happened. We tried to get them together at one point. We tried to get jerseys, and just, Bucks were kind of different management then. But yeah, so I was literally standing with John Henson in 2012 when the Bucks drafted John Henson.
And shout out to my neighbor, whose name is John Anderson and went to Southwest, which you confirmed, different guy.
I've got a new house, right? I'm in temporary housing right now. But
at least you're not in my basement anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm out of your basement, temporary housing. But that's not me, but that's good. Hopefully he's a super nice guy. Because, the chorus teacher at Wisconsin or at Green Bay Southwest was also John Anderson. So there's, it's not the first guy.
Couple two tree of you.
Yep. Couple of
thanks to John Henson for joining us today of Talk Soup and Wipeout and the Halloween Baking Championship on Food Network. Thanks, Jay, for doing that. For John, I'm Trevor. As you were Wisconsin, go rest. I'm sure your tummy hurts just like ours does from laughing. I'm going to take home all the things that I need to do a pour over, and my wife's going to be like, what are you doing?
The coffee's great, but what we've come to really love about it is gathering our thoughts, connecting with each other, slowing down before we speed up to get through the day, really become an important part of our life.
Farmers, brewers, hunters, packers, badgers, cheeseheads, neighbors. No matter what name we go by, we are bound together by our roots. These are the people, the stories, and the patriotism from inside Wisconsin. Welcome to Deeper Roots with Blaine's Farm and Fleet. Another episode of Deeper Roots with our friends at Blaine's Farm and Fleet takes us to the lake life. This is so worth it. Ryan and Cheryl, Nordskov Coffee, thanks for having us out.
Welcome.
Welcome, thrilled to have you here.
Amazing view at Whitewater Lake and amazing coffee. Tell us about Nordskov Coffee.
We were living here at the lake life during the pandemic, and Ryan got to starting hobbies.
Was always like super into coffee. We both worked corporate gigs and I used to walk to work. The best part of my day was to stop for coffee on the way to work. And then as we were reflecting during the pandemic, got pretty interested in coffee as a hobby and then eventually a career, but had always drank it, kind of went down the rabbit hole of how to brew it better at home. That same rabbit hole took me to at-home roasting. And I learned that with a little bit of the spirit of adventure and a popcorn maker sourced from the local Goodwill, that you could indeed roast coffee unsafely at home on your porch.
Disclaimer, do not try this at home.
Started roasting coffee and it ended up getting pretty good.
And it is pretty good. Yep. I can vouch for the coffee that it is pretty good.
Yeah, we started sharing it with friends and neighbors and decided, we're getting a lot of really good feedback. Maybe there's something here.
Isn't that how all really cool small business success stories start? Yeah, I was doing this on my porch and in my garage, and next thing I know, I own Amazon, right?
Yeah. Is I always loved drinking it, loved roasting it, but together we loved sharing it. Mm-hmm. And that was actually where the business was. I think when businesses grow, it's when people find that they love not only the making of the thing, but they love the sharing of the thing.
And not just sharing the actual coffee beans, but having a cup of coffee, having a conversation, talking about a small business, getting something off the ground. We love what happens over a cup of coffee too.
I want to know about how you've grown the brand by growing relationships with other people.
One-on-one at the farmers market in Janesville. We do not have a brick and mortar store, so our relationships are over a kiosk farmers market every single Saturday, getting to know their names and their stories, and they have babies, and we're part of that story on Saturday mornings.
And that's so powerful, right? And our customers have become our friends, and our friends have become our advocates, and it's super powerful.
Yet I can't help but hear that this is about helping others dig deep roots as well.
That was something we never saw coming, was how many people were like, we want you part of the small business community here. We have ideas, we can help you. All share a love for the place. We all connect as people, and we all want to play our own unique role in creating something special right here.
And so here we are now sitting on a lake. How did you get here? We're not going to talk about the state that you came from because that's against our core values.
I grew up in Indiana, so I'm not from Wisconsin, but my family, ever since I was born, would vacation in Wisconsin. This was a place my family came to relax, retreat. Always in the back of my mind wanted to end up having a lake house here.
One day when we were actually looking at some places in a different town, we just randomly decided to drive over here. We didn't see a house, we didn't see a place, we just said, this is it. We bring Nordskov into it too. It's the brand is linked to the place. We fell in love with the place, we settled in the place, and the brand is and will always be part of that.
And Nordskov actually means North Woods in Danish. So that is our connection to the North Woods of Wisconsin and Scandinavian design and the approach to roasting coffee, but that sort of all came together for us in the name of the business.
It's inspiring to hear successful people go, you know what? Corporate's not for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to buy a house on a lake and make my own coffee.
So that's been really refreshing to us, is to take some of the mindsets and the skill sets that we built at big businesses and apply them to a smaller business with a little bit less ambition, but a whole lot more passion.
So the only thing we're missing at this point is showing me and showing us how to brew coffee. I know nothing about a coffee bean. I don't know where you get it, how it's grown. Will you just teach me the coffee bean 101?
Yeah, starts with it's not a bean.
Okay, I'm failing miserably.
No. Like everyone calls it a bean, right? It's actually, it's not a legume. It is the seed from a little shrub that fruits, and those fruits are cherries. And inside those cherries, there's 2 little seeds. And the fruit of the cherry and the skin of the cherry is removed. Those little seeds are dried out into 10 or 11% moisture, and that is a raw green coffee bean that people like Nordskov buy. So, and then we take that little dried out seed and we cook it. I feel like we're gonna spoil it for roasters, but honestly, like a coffee is never gonna be better than when it comes off the farm. Our job as a roaster is to select ones we think are really beautiful and interesting that people will love. We say we're a Nordic style roaster, but that approach to coffee roasting, that, hey, find really wonderful beans, roast them in a way to bring out those wonderful flavors, and then stop and let the coffee shine.
So there's something called a pour over, right?
Yeah.
You've roasted the coffee seed. That whole not a bean thing is really gonna mess me up.
I know. The best way to get it is to see it. So why don't we go ahead and make some coffee? So I'm gonna need you to help me out a little bit. We didn't talk about ratio. How much water and how much coffee matters an awful lot too. So if you'll put 18 grams of these coffee beans into that little cup.
The fact that you're trusting me to pour something means you didn't watch the last episode of Deeper Roots. That did not end well for me. Oh no. See, no.
It's okay.
I don't know how much difference it makes, but in my mind, to the bean matters. So I like pick everything. Yeah. Perfect. I think that's
no. Every bean matters.
But you're going to be 17.9 grams now. I think
easy.
We're take the bean out.
Oh, man. 18.
So we got to take those whole beans and we got to make them little bean particles.
One big tip for coffee, keep it whole bean until you're gonna drink it.
Air, heat, and light are the enemy of delicious fresh coffee.
Go for it.
Can keep those beans together, keep them in an opaque bag and somewhere cool.
Air, heat, and light is also the enemy of Miller High Life.
That is 100% right. And then let's make sure the 18 grams that went in also goes out. You can just dump it right into the filter.
I'm very nervous to spill.
Oh, that would not be the first time coffee was spilled on this countertop. We're trying to keep everything consistent, and we want to really manage how the water flows through. So give it a little shake to flatten out. We want a nice flat bed of coffee to start with. We're on a clock now, so I'm gonna start the timer, and then pour with this kettle until we get to 60 grams. And you're just gonna make nice little circles. Nice. Perfect. Good. What's happening now is all of the carbon dioxide that's in the coffee from the roasting process is starting to release. And we want that to happen for about 45 seconds. But now take us up to 180 grams.
Okay.
And so we have 18 grams of coffee in. We're gonna shoot for about 300 grams of water poured. So that's 16 parts water to 1 part coffee.
If I stand different on the floor, it says 180 just for a second. So we're good.
And at 130, you're gonna take it up very slowly like you just did, up to about 305 grams.
Oh, we're doing it again?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Holy buckets. I'm at 310.
Yep.
Talking and doing math at the same time.
We shoot for about 3 minutes of total brew time for this coffee. This is our Ethiopian single origin coffee from the Guji region of Ethiopia. We're a little fast, but I think it's gonna be delicious.
It was 3 seconds too fast. Now we drink.
And this is the fun part, right?
So what flavors and notes should I be tasting in this?
Well, you tell us.
Yeah, you tell us and then we'll read the bag and you see if you agree or not.
You're asking the wrong palate. I'm in sipping mode. Ready?
Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
This is gonna be really hot.
Is it really hot?
202.
You're probably at like 197 now, but we'll let it cool too because that's the notes really come out as the coffee cools.
What do you taste?
I don't know what I taste. I'm doing it again. Cocoa? Is there some?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Almost like, I would call it dry oaky.
Okay.
Just a little, not a lot, just a little.
The thing that differentiates this coffee for us and the reason we bought this coffee is it has a really prominent like lemon acidity to it. So it's like sparkling on the tongue. I think we call this one like a lemon sweet tea is the vibe we get from this.
You know what it doesn't taste like? French vanilla creamer.
No, it does not taste like French vanilla creamer.
Gonna take me a minute to understand what I'm drinking here. We learned a lot today about friendships and coffee. I need a coffee for the road. Is this a tall boy you call it?
That's right. 16 ounces of cold brew. Get you the whole way home.
I love the stories where we get to come and learn about what the roots are and why they matter. And I think that that's what we got to do today is slow down and have a cup of coffee and look at the lake and enjoy the sunrise.
Thank you for telling our story, and thank you for telling all those amazing stories that you do. We're thrilled to be part of this.
You're about to wreck me, I think. I'm not gonna enjoy any other coffee for the rest of my life other than this. How'd you do in biology class?
Terrible,
I
actually.
know.
Yeah, terrible.
Who knew? We need all the science.
You're faking it really well.
Yeah, exactly.
Introduce us to John Denver,
Yeah.
if you would please.
Senior pit bull named John Denver.
He
He's
demands
demanding.
to be the center of attention. We're gonna learn throughout this podcast.
Turns out he will be featured. This is where the magic happens. Is that how you would say it? There's no like good dad joke for this.
Yeah.
This is where the bean meets the roaster.
I can't think of a word bigger than magic, so let's go with that's where the magic happens.
Confession. I'm not a black coffee drinker. I usually use creamer.
Okay.
But you've changed me.
Also, drink what you like. We just want you to like better coffee.
A cheers goes out to Ryan and Cheryl, and of course, our good friend John Denver the dog, all founding members of Nordscoff Coffee. Thanks for having us out to Whitewater Lake and sharing your passion for great coffee and small businesses here in Wisconsin, in small town Wisconsin, there in Whitewater. Also, thanks for ruining it for me. Your coffee's amazing. Can't wait to drink more. If you'd like to learn more about Nordscoff or sip some of their incredible coffee, head to nordscoffgoods.com and follow them on social media. But the best way to connect is in person. You're going to have to trust me on that one. So make a trip out to the Whitewater area sometime or catch them at the Janesville Farmers Market during the summer months. You won't regret it. If you'd like us to connect with you, there's a few things you can do. Number one, fill out the form on the website, farmandfleet.com/deeperroots, and let us know which story we should share next. Maybe it's yours. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, and let us know what you loved about the episode in the comments below. And if you're listening to the podcast, leave us a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate it. All right, time to recaffeinate. We'll see you next time.
Talk to you later. Bye.